Competition breeds excellence, and today it has bred reactions, in this case from Overwatch. Blizzard has decided to respond to the situation with Marvel Rivals basically eating up everything regarding Overwatch by actually doing something new. Now, whether this is a good direction or not is up for debate, but at least they're trying something, and they seem really excited to do so. And I'm pretty sure that the Overwatch community, at least if they feel overall like I do seeing these changes, is really excited for what could be coming. And so, we're going to talk about the overall landscape of hero shooters, about Marvel Rivals and its impact on Overwatch so far, and what the future could hold with all of these changes for all of the games involved. And by the way, hi, I'm Mug, and if you're new here, welcome, and if you're not new here, welcome back. If you enjoy the video, hit the like button. You know how it works. It helps out the channel, helps it reach more people, all the usual. Let's get into it. So the Overwatch team just had the Overwatch Spotlight, about a 35-minute presentation showcasing everything that's coming to Overwatch in the next year. Undoubtedly, one of the bigger things is that loot boxes are back as a progression item, and I guess that the industry has fallen down a rabbit hole so sad that we are now celebrating the fact that loot boxes are a progression system. Yay. Now, aside from that, the more important things they showed were the new hero, Freya, which looks pretty cool, but also the bigger changes coming to Overwatch. At a base level, the most important thing is the perk system. Every single hero in the game, during the course of the game, now levels up and gets to choose between different abilities. You do this 2 times with a minor ability and a major ability that more or less transform some of the things that you can do with the character and give you a little bit more expression and the ability to counter some of the enemy composition. If you've ever played Paladins, it's like that. Rest in peace, Paladins. And that is coming in the very next season of Overwatch, and it is a pretty large transformative change to how the entire game plays. And once again, whether it's successful or not, it's a big change, and I think that's what Overwatch needs at this point. Now, to be more accurate, Overwatch needs something, probably, direction, but they're working on it, I guess. This perk system seems to open up a lot of the play space and the skill expression available, but it also cuts down on counters, because when you switch heroes, you lose your level ups and have to get them all over again, which is a very interesting decision that does indeed shape a lot of how the game is meant to be played, and pushes it just a little bit further into that MOBA territory, where now, instead of being this counter swap game, it's a bit more of a choose your hero, master them, and know how to adapt them to different situations, which is a very critical design philosophy change. But the perk system, rest in peace Paladins, is nothing compared to the other announcement of Overwatch Stadium. This is a full-blown MOBA progression style Overwatch, but don't think something like Deadlock, because you don't have the creeps and the economy doesn't quite work the same. Instead, it's 7 rounds of shorter Overwatch, and after each round, you obtain currency depending on your performance in it, and you can spend that on a bunch of different abilities, with some common abilities that everybody can buy, some unique, specific abilities for each hero, and everybody can equip up to 6 different abilities, and you gain access to 4 different powers from a list of unique powers for each hero that are bigger and more transformative, meaning that each subsequent round is just more and more chaos. You can only buy between the rounds, and all of your abilities can be refunded completely, meaning that there's a little bit of strategy to filling out your ability roster as you go, and then reinvesting it in bigger, more powerful abilities later down the line. This brings forward an idea of crafting your own vision for each of the heroes in the game, be that if you wanted to make Reinhardt a character that just buffs everybody every time he charges and also deals a ton of damage and also flies, to turning some of the healers like Kiriko into complete DPS machines, because that's what every Kiriko player wants to do, and we all know it, including Blizzard, or turning Soldier into a DPS support that buffs everybody around him all of the time. It's a wild and crazy idea that is obviously recycling a lot of the things that they have done from, for example, April Fools to Junkenstein's Lab, and yes, those skill trees that we saw all the way back for the Overwatch 2 that we thought we were getting, which was the PvE game that doesn't exist. And of course, some of the bigger things here is that the default mode for Stadium is third person, and the heroes will not all be available when this launches in season 16. That's the season following this one, but they will be adding them slowly because of course there's just a lot of stuff, I guess, that they need to balance and design and figure out. But it is a huge and very strange change. Now, I do think that it is important to acknowledge the role that Rivals plays in all of this. The tremendous success of Marvel Rivals, because it is an excellent game that I just can't stop playing, has definitely been the catalyst for the Overwatch team pushing these changes forward and getting their butts into gear. Because of the nature of game development, we know just how many of these things, these ideas, have been in the works for a very, very, very long time. Again, there are skills and abilities and things present here in Overwatch Stadium that we remember seeing for that Overwatch 2 PvE 6 or 7 years ago at this point. So it's not like the release of Rivals suddenly made the Overwatch team develop all of these crazy things, and instead, what it's doing is making the Overwatch team say, maybe we shouldn't wait. Maybe perfection is the enemy of done. And it's definitely accelerated what they're willing to talk about and show. Pushing out the entire perk system for everybody in the next season is a huge change, and the existence of Overwatch Stadium and how it's going to fit within not just Overwatch, but the current ecosystem of hero shooters is something that's also very curious and up for debate. At the very minimum, all of these changes look very fun, and we have Marvel Rivals to thank for kicking the team into gear and having them actually release things, no matter if they are not perfect. But what I think is a much more interesting conversation to have here is, what does this mean for Overwatch's identity? If there's one problem that I think has plagued Overwatch for a very long time, is that instead of just developing the game that they wanted, they have developed the game that people have asked for. It has always been a very reactionary system, and the only real part of it that felt like it had a clear vision was the PvE that was cancelled. And unfortunately, I feel like the changes of the perk system and Overwatch Stadium don't remedy this lack of vision, and just feels like the team having fun. Now, I don't want to criticize that because that's still pretty damn good, especially from the perspective of us as players. We get to have fun with them, and that's nice. But where does this fit in? And I wonder if the Overwatch team is envisioning Overwatch Stadium as either the future of Overwatch or this additional complex mode that builds on the foundation of existing Overwatch players, or if they're viewing it as kind of TFT is to League of Legends, because this is a big thing. It requires so much learning and getting to know all of the different abilities and the metas and what are the builds for every single character and how to counter them and things like that, that this isn't some side mode. This is a huge thing, but in my opinion, it doesn't actually help them to recover where Overwatch was. People have been running to play Marvel Rivals because they just have fun playing that game. The 6v6 structure, the heroes that are available, and the experience of playing the game is addictive and just incredibly fun. Overwatch seems to be trying to compete with that as well, with them confirming that 6v6 will be staying in some permanent fashion as they keep investigating if it is the best mode for the game and how that would even work. But at the same time, they're pushing out all of these other changes. The added complexity to the base game of Overwatch with the perk system seems like something that appeals mainly to people who already play Overwatch, and it just feels like another barrier of entry to people who aren't playing Overwatch or who went to play Rivals. In that sense, it does compete with Rivals of trying to bring players back into Overwatch by giving the people who share that same space, which are probably a ton of new toys to play with, and that's great. But what about Overwatch Stadium? That level of complexity is the type of thing that demands a lot of time, attention, and practice, and at the moment, Rivals isn't doing that. Instead, Stadium feels like it falls somewhere between the traditional Overwatch, or Rivals, to give a more current and fun example, and Deadlock. But I wonder then who that mode is actually going to be for. And what it boils down to at this point is that people who just really enjoy the Overwatch game experience, the classic version of it that we've already known, are now being pushed even more to go play Marvel Rivals, because Overwatch is now transforming fundamentally into a beast of 3 different fractured player bases of now we're going to have the people who want 6v6, the people who want 5v5, the people who like the game before skills, and the people who like it after skills, the people who like Overwatch Stadium, and the people who don't, as well as the people who like Overwatch Stadium in third person, and the people who like Overwatch Stadium in first person. Those people at the very tail end there, the ones that are into Overwatch Stadium, they're also kind of spoiled for choice, because if what they're looking for is deep complexity of all sorts and the more strategy aspect of the game, the more MOBA elements, Deadlock still exists and it's still trucking along, and I don't know how to tell you guys this, but Deadlock is really, really good. When we're talking about game feel and movement mechanics and the fact that it is a third-person shooter, which seems to be the more popular thing these days, makes a lot of sense, especially from the monetization perspective. I don't know how people never thought of that. People like to see their skins, you know? Deadlock is still trucking along and will offer that in some capacity, and we still don't know what audience Deadlock might be targeting, of either very, very complex or somewhere a little bit more accessible and leaning towards the shooter size, which might compete more directly with something like Overwatch Stadium. It's a big, kind of confusing mess all around, but I do think that it's incredibly healthy and good for everybody involved. Putting a little bit of fire under the Overwatch team means that that game is going to get bigger changes more often that people will get to enjoy, experiment with, and if that means that the team is going to have to figure out what their game even is at this point, well, I wish them luck doing so. But all of that also means that the quality and changes and the competition that Overwatch brings is going to push Marvel Rivals to be better. Marvel Rivals was already a very direct response to Overwatch, and I can't wait to see how both of these games evolve with each other and how they are kind of more directly including Deadlock into this fight with the appearance of Overwatch Stadium. All of this competition means that all of these games have to be better and more defined and doing more to please their audiences in order to maintain the crown. And during that entire fight, we as gamers, we get to enjoy really good games. And that makes me very, very happy. No matter what, the future is looking very bright for those of us who like live hero shooters of all sorts. And I'm really excited for just, there's so much in the world of games that I think is awesome at this point. I'm just excited about pretty much everything in gaming this year, be that the live service hero shooter aspect of things. I still do really enjoy Deadlock. I'm having a blast with Marvel Rivals, and I'm excited to see that game grow. Now I'm excited to see what Overwatch is going to do moving forward, and there's just a ton of just good old-fashioned single-player games releasing all the time that I'm also having a blast with. It's really just a good time to be gaming. And I'm happy that I get to talk about Overwatch and Marvel Rivals on the channel now, since I started as an Overwatch content creator. I stopped doing that, and now I get to play with the tightrope that is being a variety channel. Yay! Which, speaking of, if you're interested in news, reviews, everything around the industry, all of the latest games, retrospectives on some of my favorites, and yes, content on Marvel Rivals, Overwatch, and all of these big games, remember to subscribe. That'd be fun. Just, man, video games are good. I really cannot express just how, like, happy I am to play so many great games. Oh boy, Monster Hunter Wilds is coming soon, everybody. Having said all of this, there's some big plans for some cool videos coming up real soon. Been hard at work producing stuff, and now that gets to come out, so hope you'll tune in for all of that. A very special thanks to the patrons up on the $1 patron wall who directly support this channel. I thank you so much for your support. I've been Mug. Let me know down below what you think Overwatch is doing and what this is shaping up to be. Is this enough to get you to reinstall Overwatch and check it out, see what they're doing, or are you not even going to bother? Are you just really happy playing Rivals? Let me know. And go out there, enjoy some great video games, and as always, I'll see you again very soon.